so we have first the public library, school, and computer station access issue. Someone want to say something about this?
I think it meets the adoption.
It meets adoption goals.
Yep. And I also think access goals.
Okay, so let's do a quick, just stick out your thumb in how you're feeling about this. Up, sideways, or down. So we have a positive thumbs up on this. You're kind of sideways.
I'm kind of sideways.
Okay.
I look at it, it's adoption, but it's in their libraries.
Right. Okay.
But if you're, all right,
Okay.
we'll
Yep. So let's just keep moving just to see if anything kind of goes by the wayside right away, and then we don't have to necessarily work on it as hard right at the moment. So the next one is award scholarship dollars for broadband access to students, especially those that meet federal poverty guidelines. So this is definitely would get to an adoption issue. Someone want to talk about it? You know, it's fairly well costed out here. Okay, ready for a thumb vote? Here we go. Let's go. So, we got like, all right, we're kind of more like this. I can go to this way if convinced. So I'm going to say that so far we're lukewarm on this one. Okay. Anyone want to say anything else before? Okay, let's keep going. Okay, expand the current education tax credit to include monthly broadband service. This is one we've talked about a lot. Although we are not saying not increasing the size of the pool, we're going to get rung up for this. So I'm just telling you what happens here in the process. So it is an expensive proposal going forward. But all right, we ready to vote? Okay. Okay, this is lukewarm because we've got a few strongs and
I'd love to see it happen. I think my vote is more around the issue, but I don't think it's going to.
okay.
Yeah.
So
Are our people on the phone not able to vote?
it's hard for them to vote, and we can't see them. The requirements are you have to be able to be seen. I mean, we're getting a temperature check on this, so if they have things to say, they certainly could.
Okay, so they're on the phone?
Yeah. There was a lot of discussion about that ahead of time. I'm sure with them. So, provide a tax credit or grant to incent broadband providers to build in unserved areas. Coordinate with Connect Minnesota. Provide target areas that are underserved or unserved, and provide a priority for projects that will serve these targeted areas. Okay, so this is the one where we would have to come back and give more guidance if this is one that we want to go on. So ready? Here we go. This is universally a winner. This is a very positive. It was a lot of thumbs up for those of you on the phone. There was nobody down. 26, extend current sales tax exemption on equipment purchased for use in central office to include the purchase of fiber optics and broadband equipment. So again, we have a cost on this as a cost estimate, so we do have some cost there. We do have some leverage dollars, and there is a metric for it. So, all right, questions? Ready to go? All right, let's go. Let's see. This is universally a winner. Okay, 27. Create a program or mechanism to coordinate rural broadband installation with state and federal programs assisting hospitals, schools, libraries, and public safety facilities obtaining broadband. Now this one, there's a big question about cost because there wasn't real definition around how we might do this. We do say that we think there's federal funding opportunities to do this or figure it out. And it certainly would be trackable doing some outreach contacts with businesses and consumers. Questions, clarifications? Okay, ready to go? Here we go. Thumbs. I would say overall, not quite as positive. I'd say even a little less than lukewarm, but
Lukewarm minus.
lukewarm minus. Okay. Next one is our Dig Once proposal to coordinate highway construction and broadband deployment projects. This is a fairly well thought out one. I think the issue for cost is that we need to say, would there need to be a staff coordinator or not for this sort of proposal? If there would, then they would cost it for us and get us back something about that.
Couldn't we contact Arizona and find out how much it's costing there, just for?
They would do that. Yeah, we don't have to do that. They will do that. I mean, they'll figure that out.
Yeah,
But
we as him.
yeah.
But how much of it is going on now?
But in Arizona or to
No,
here?
here.
I don't.
No,
Not in
in our area of the state, we get announcements from MnDOT whenever there's a project, and they call a meeting at a central location. And so, I mean, the issue of how
Well,
much
that-
it would cost depends upon,
I think, Gary, speaking for myself, I've heard anecdotally, some companies get really good response
Yeah.
from MnDOT, some don't. And so I think
It's probably
that's part of the problem.
Region
Some of this has been
yeah,
anecdotal.
well, sure it is.
I think in terms of, however, that wouldn't necessarily change how much this cost from the state perspective, because
Right.
what we're talking about is changing a policy to allow installation of broadband conduits in conjunction with
Yep.
roadway projects regardless. So whether or not MnDOT is letting you know or not letting you know whether or not a project is going on now, the change would be to make sure that it's allowed, period. And there would have to be some work with MnDOT to make sure the information got out.
okay.
Peter and I talked about this in
Yeah.
their meet and confer policies with MnDOT, and they've been generally very good about, what Gary said, statewide, and giving us notification of projects, so.
But notification of projects is different than saying, we're gonna do this in unserved areas, and we're gonna really make it happen. I mean, that I think is the difference.
And I think ultimately this is one of the ones where there's the clearest articulation of an outcome, right? Which is not only is the outcome that we're looking to build for broadband projects in conjunction with road projects, and that's going to help build us into unserved areas, which are going to advance the statutory goals. I think that's very clear. Whether or not doing a piece of legislation like Arizona did, we have this model that seems to be a good starting place. At the end of the day, if there's another tool that the state could use to achieve that
Yeah.
outcome, that I think will be good. But I think this
And
is
it might be
a clear
nice.
articulation of a strategy that's used to get to that outcome.
This clearly suggests that it would allow the state to install the conduit. Right?
My understanding and looking back at and actually that is a good point, because the way that this is written does say that. I think the Arizona bill, and I would have to go back and reread it, but I think the Arizona bill allowed for, it was private providers who were actually doing the build out in
Join that.
conjunction with the road project. But I'd have to go
Remember
back
having
and look, but that's a good
conversation
point, Gary,
Well,
because the way this
and
is
that,
written here.
and that, I don't know what Andy and Dick would say to this, but I would favor that.
Yeah, I believe that's the case. I don't think that this, and I agree that this is probably poorly written and that. I don't think the implication is that
Yeah,
the
I
state
thought it
would
was the private
own or
provider
install.
doing it,
Yes,
but
the
it's
private
really
provider
the
would be-
coordination of it.
Yeah.
So let's go and vote on Dig Once, and then we're gonna get to the fiber collection database next. So on the Dig Once proposal. I'm gonna call it, it's not overwhelmingly positive, it's positive.
See Tim's vote?
Yep,
Okay,
He was like that.
making sure.
yep, I saw him. All right, develop Minnesota
Can I
fiber.
just add one?
Yeah, yeah.
I think it's too complex an issue. Yeah.
But if Arizona passed it, really? They're not the beacon of like.
I just think it's one of those projects that's very, very complex, and we have a
We'll
lot
let
of
the
different
legislators fight it out.
entities. Yeah.
They get paid the big bucks to do it. So, I don't know. Okay, develop Minnesota fiber collection database. This is modeled off of the California model. So there's measurement, there's outcomes. I think the outcomes, actually, the outcome language could be strengthened on this, because it's, I think, significant that people can go to one place to look and see it. I mean, it's essentially what's happening for you region by region would be available easily statewide, which seems like a good idea, but.
The only thing that I would add here in terms of the outcomes is I think usability of the database in California. You can go to the website.
Yeah.
You can't access the full functionality unless you subscribe. You're a subscribing provider
Okay.
in it. So that was one of the reasons why this is a little thin. So I think we maybe need to do a little more research on the staff side to.
I'm sure we could just
Yeah.
call
Yeah.
their whatever.
And this is Anna. I think someone brought it up at a previous meeting that the Gopher State One call database is one example worth looking at.
Okay, so ready? Here we go. Let's vote. Okay, pretty much a winner in the room. Okay, next one, page 30. Provide incentive for rural sites that collaborate on broadband projects, telehealth services, interoperability, and information exchanges. Now, just a caveat, the estimated cost is just that here. It's an estimate and not necessarily a proposed cost in this one. I mean, this, you know, again, to all Minnesotans having high-speed broadband, I think that's one of our pieces that we have to look at in this, but anyone else want to say anything before we do a vote? Okay, ready for your vote. Here we go. So, mixed. We're just gonna call it mixed. There were no down thumbs, but a lot of sideways and some ups. Okay. Facilitate public-private partnership programs designed to deliver free or discounted computers to disadvantaged K-12 children in Minnesota. Again, I think here we're not sure what we're totally proposing on a cost because it was difficult to know, you know,
When we talked about this in the group, I thought the best practice was in the second. It was more, we didn't talk about an entity doing this, I think it was more that, but then I said, it's like, we don't know who would do it, you know what I mean?
Right.
So, we said this was a good thing, but I don't know if it was, you know, we didn't specifically.
So
talk
maybe
about
it's
it.
something we want to highlight somewhere else in the report and not necessarily put in as a policy recommendation.
Well,
Maybe it's a good thing to be saying and holding up and saying, these are the sorts of things that need to
Things that we
be,
would support.
yeah, but it
Yeah,
doesn't,
PCs for people, that,
Right.
you throw them in here
Yeah.
too. I mean, so I don't know that this is really truly something, I mean, it's aware, this was an awareness thing, really.
okay. So, you know, let's just take the vote on the policy recommendation. It doesn't mean that we're throwing it overboard totally, but it means it maybe lives in a different place.
Could I make just a
Yeah.
suggestion on it? Because like PC for people, they, let's just use a figure of $100 a computer. If we said, you know, if we just made a suggestion to the legislature that they put $100,000 into a fund, and that money would go to PC for people or other companies that were providing computers, and then, you know, you'd get 1,000 computers out there. And it wouldn't be a lot of money in the scheme of things, but it would make, you know, it would make an impact, and it would be, because there are people out there who really, truly, and I think Bernadine can back me up on this from what she's seen in the Blandon projects, there are people out there who really, truly want to get online and improve their life, but they can't even make that first step of buying that computer.
So I just want to put it in context of the mission that we're dealing with, which is
Yep.
border-to-border broadband access. I mean, it's a
Yeah.
piece of it,
Yeah.
but,
It's an adoption piece.
yeah,
I think that's what.
and we do have some others too, so.
Yeah.
Madam Chair, this is Anna.
Yep.
Something just comes to mind that when we get done with this, there are a couple of them that sort of fit as next steps by acknowledging that through our success, we are creating a gap.
All right, let's take a little vote on whether we're recommending this forward as a policy. Oh,
Before we vote, I'm wondering if there might be another category that we could, I like this idea, but I feel like it doesn't qualify as a policy or it's just
Right.
no,
Right.
there's none of there there.
We'll figure it out,
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
We'll figure it out. I mean, if it doesn't make it, we'll figure out where to put it. Because it's a good
See,
idea.
we like it.
We like it, I can tell, but it may not be worthy of recommendation or use of the limited funds we have in terms of actually getting to the goal. So let's go, let's vote, come on. I say it's not, no. For those of on the phone, there was a couple sideways, lots of down, one up, so. Consider the public-private partnership models to make funding available for technology training, production, and adoption in communities at the margins of technology. So the thing cited is the DC Digital Inclusion Program, and Joanna says she might have some more information on this.
So this was a ARROW-funded project in Washington, components of an ARROW-funded project in Washington DC. And with the funds, they provided 6 months worth of internet and computer skills training at libraries and community colleges for underserved people, which they defined as low-income seniors and residents who speak English as a second language. And so their goal, when they applied for the funds, was to train a little over 3,000 people in 2 years. And after graduating, all of the recipients received free computer and tech support and 6 months of training. I'm sorry, 6 months of free internet access. So the funding went for both training and computers and internet access.
When is the project complete?
I was a quick search yesterday because I don't know. It's probably, my guess is that it's wrapping up like most of the Euro projects. But whether or not there's data available, I'll have to get that.
Okay. Do others need more info? How many people were served, do they say?
Their goal was 3,400. Whether or not they achieved
We
that,
don't know if
we don't know.
if they met that. Okay. All right, so, ready to vote? Okay, here we go. I'm gonna say this is one that might need more information in the future. Like, we need more research. It wasn't a no in the room largely, but it was sideways with the exception of one, so, which is positive. So I think that if we could say that for right now, that's one where we might need some more information going forward, but might not be ready for prime time this year. If we can learn how they built the capacity to do it and some other stuff, we might feel better about it. Okay, and then we have our ongoing resource within state government, both the entity and the office. And I think, let's just take a look to make sure we're all on the same path on that or not. But, okay, so let's do thumbs again. Okay, so pretty darn positive. Not,
Question about that, just in terms of if there's an idea about how many staff you think would be, I heard that there was a desire for staff to this group, so how many staff? So you're going to determine the cost.
I don't know if we can do that today right here. Maybe we can talk about it
Well,
offline.
there are a number of questions about
Right.
where
Right.
agency is located and
Right.
size, scope.
Right. We may not be able to answer all of those questions in the recommendation, but get some part of it out to you in the next version of this. So, let's see, the couple of things,
So, Madam Chair, could I speak to that for just a minute?
Yeah, go ahead.
That's kind of where I was headed in my pause thing was, I feel like there's some stuff that are like well-cooked.
Yeah.
With shared meaning, very specific, very
Yeah.
actionable, right? And that would qualify from where I sit as a specific recommendation. Then there's a bunch of stuff that we're kind of interested in but need more work.
yeah, right, those are the two no's so far.
Yeah, good. And that we would.
We're just gonna hold them over
Yeah.
for next year, but not maybe,
But we might be able to
you
call it
could
as a
reference
report
them.
that we've identified some
Yeah.
things that we're gonna be digging more deeply into.
Absolutely.
And we've got that section of the report that talks about the 2013 work plan. We could say that we're gonna continue to develop more specific policy risk information.
Yeah.
You know, along those lines, on page 30 with the provide incentives for rural sites, and I did a ranking of 1 to 5 on all of these. I can tell you what the rankings are, as we were talking about, but this one was more in the neutral zone. But actually, it kind of fits into what you're just describing there, Bernadine, because it's not as well cooked. You know, it doesn't have enough detail to actually put
And
forward
how
now, but
does
I
it
don't
relate to
think-
your other task force membership on the e-health stuff?
On the e-health, the e-health really isn't promoting any telehealth services. They are promoting interoperability and information exchange. though.
Okay,
And so there is an overlap there,
okay.
because those ones would almost come off the table and telehealth would stay on and the collaboration would stay on.
So on page 30, are we suggesting that maybe we hold that one to
Yeah,
get
I'm thinking
more?
that maybe it's a next step.
Because it was
Kind of like
mixed,
the
it was
other-
definitely a mixed vote. So let's go back through the mixed votes, okay. Peter has to go off and
Sorry about that, Madam Chair.
attend to a commissioner, so, that sounds weird, but go with